Hey, what are those things that you don't like to do, but you know you have to do them because it's important to get them done? Today we're talking about the motive and the why behind our lives. I'm Jonathan Leonardo. This is Internet Church.
The question goes like this: what's something that you hate doing but choose to do anyways, and give me the reasons why you decide to do it.
Something that I hate doing but I choose to do anyway.
There's so many things. Plan anything. I don't like being stuck in the details, but because I recognize that adulthood requires the details, that I spend a ton of time making charts and lists.
Who likes doing dishes? I don't. But I have to do them anyway because otherwise the house is in disarray and then I don't feel good walking into the kitchen.
Having to clean all the time, like the car, the house, and the bedroom. And you choose to do it because you feel like it's organized and you're more at peace when your life isn't cluttered and messy.
Laundry? I do not like laundry, but I choose to do it or else our family would have stinky, dirty clothes because we live in Hawaii and sweat so much.
Something I hate doing would do it anyways. Making my bed in the morning. Every morning. We read this article. It's such a good discipline to like set your mind right or something. I don't know. But I love keeping like everything clean and together. But it's just annoying because you do it every single day.
Taking out the sewage, draining it, and dumping it. Because if you don't do it, then the alternative is worse.
Cleaning up after my kids. I hate cleaning up after my kids, not because I hate cleaning up after my kids, but because I want them to learn to clean up after themselves. But I do it anyway because that's what the Lord does for me.
So, Matthew chapter 6. I don't know how many times I've read the Sermon on the Mount in a way that has thoroughly left me, let's just say, somewhat confused. Why? Because I didn't find the uniting theme to a lot of things. There's little pieces and bits that Jesus speaks about. Great information. However, the uniting theme, recently as I've revisited, particularly Matthew 6, a uniting theme has emerged, and that's what we want to talk about today. In Matthew chapter 6, Jesus begins by telling us to beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them. And so he lays out these scenarios in which you could be practicing your righteousness by praying. And you could pray on the street corner, or you could pray in public, because to do so is to get validation or affirmation from others. And Jesus says, beware of doing that. Why? Because if you do that, your heart is postured towards being affirmed by others. Your heart is postured towards being seen as righteous in the eyes of others. But where your heart is not postured is your heart is not postured in agreement with your Father, who wants to meet you in private and just reveal himself to you in private. Jesus continues in Matthew chapter 6. He says, don't pray like that. Your Father wants to meet you in secret. And then he teaches his disciples, pray like this. And you all know the famous Lord's Prayer, right? Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And Jesus lays down a principle of posturing your heart, that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So that it is first the posture of being in agreement with heaven and then earth. And then Jesus moves on from this prayer and he goes back to fasting. First, he talks about forgiveness, and we'll cover that, but then he goes to fasting. He said, hey, when you fast, don't fast in such a way as for other people to see you and then to kind of be affirmed and validated by them. No. Do it between you and your Father. Again, your heart being postured first with your Father, first with heaven. Thy will be done on earth as it is done, and if I could put here, first in heaven. The way the will is done in heaven, then on earth, not the other way around. So don't posture your heart first and foremost towards earth, its value, its currency, the affirmation of others. No. First heaven. Then he moves on, and this is what gets me. Is if you move quickly to Matthew 6, verse 19. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys and where the thieves do not break in. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. If my seeking after God is first and foremost to be seen by others as being righteous in a way that would be affirming in the eyes of those who see me, I'm seeking my treasure in the gaze and of the eyes of another. The motive behind my life isn't in agreement first and foremost with the kingdom. It has a mixed motivation that's actually too often directed at finding its validation in another. My heart isn't first and foremost agreed with heaven. The motive behind my action isn't first and foremost seeking the kingdom of God, which is where Jesus actually concludes in this chapter. So as I'm reading this chapter and I'm putting these pieces together, all of a sudden this thread is beginning to form. And the thread is, the pieces of the thread are, have your heart in agreement with heaven, not first with the validation of others. When you fast, have your heart in private agreement with heaven, not with the motivation of others. Pray like this, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. All of a sudden, what begins to emerge is that the motive behind my actions needs to be the agreement I have with heaven. And it's so dope the way Jesus frames Matthew 6. He frames Matthew 6 as children praying to their father. He says, when you pray to your Father who is in heaven, when you fast, let it be seen by your Father. When you pray, pray like this to your Father, your will be done. So that the first baseline that he establishes is that you are his beloved children, and he is the Father who wants to give you everything that heaven has. So your heart being in agreement with heaven is to actually see the Father's love, and that's what motivates the posture back towards him. My beloved, the motive behind our life is so important. The motive behind the reason I pray, not because I'm going to be seen by others, but because my heart is in agreement since I'm loved by my Father. The motive behind my fasting for intimacy with my Father. The motive behind the way I even construct the words that come out of my mouth in agreement with my Father. I don't blabber on and on like others do. Why? Because my Father loves me and he hears me. And his love has motivated my heart to see him for who he is. Look, Jesus even says this in Matthew 6. All of these pieces come together. It's so dope. Verse 22, the eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? That when the motive of my heart is in agreement with heaven, because I've received my Father's love, my Father reveals to me light and revelation so that then I begin to see clearly. I see that to set my heart on others' validation and affirmation is to shortchange the abundance that I actually have with my Father. All of a sudden, I'm motivated to lay up my treasures in heaven because the revelation from my Father is my motive. The motive behind our why, and the motive is informed by the love of a Father revealed. As I read Matthew 6 now, I can't help but see a Father who wants to meet us in private so he can reveal himself and his love to us. And then the move is that when we get that revelation, we actually manifest it in the world. Not because we want affirmation from others, but because now we see correctly. We have light to actually see. So that when I pray because I have the privilege of praying with my Father. That when I give because I have the privilege of giving, not because I want somebody else to affirm me in my giving. When I fast, I do so for deeper intimacy with my Father. Why? The motive behind my life has been informed by the revelation of my Father's love, so that my heart is postured in agreement with him and I move from there. Let me say that again. The motive of my heart is informed by the revelation of my Father's love, and my heart is postured in agreement to move from there. Jesus concludes Matthew 6. So good, so good. Verse 25. Therefore I tell you, don't be anxious about your life, what you will eat, what you will drink, about your body, what you're gonna put on. Is not life more than food and the body more than clothing? When you're actually postured and agree, when the motive is grounded in the Father's love, what place are we going to give for anxiety? What place are we going to give for worry? When you have that revelation of the Father's love, look around you. Look at the lilies. Look at the grass. Look at the sparrows. Look how he cares for them. How much more will your Father care for you? And in that revelation, the motive shifts. The actions turn towards being in agreement with heaven. And at the end of the day, we can be confident in his love so that we don't have to be anxious for anything. And so, as we go into our breakout groups, I just want to ask, have you considered the motive behind your life? And maybe now you're sitting on the other side of this good gospel freedom and you're saying to yourself, man, thank you, God, for giving me new motives. If you have those, and maybe you're struggling with, I'm trying to figure this out. Hey, let's talk a little bit in our groups of why the motive behind our lives is so important and why it's so important to have the motives grounded in the revelation of our Father so that we manifest his heart in ours.
All right, so the question we're asking is, what is something that you don't like doing, but do anyways, and why?
What I don't like doing, I do anyways, and why? Clean my car. Washing and cleaning my car, the inside of my car, I don't like doing, but I do it because if I don't, my wife will get mad at me and she'll make me do it anyway. So I might as well do it before she gets mad at me. And so that's why I try to do it consistently, but it doesn't always happen. But that's one thing that I don't like doing, but I do it anyway.